Hey, hello to all, and welcome to a new show of Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business. I am here with Billy Fetzner. I hope that I'm saying your last name
You got
well.
it. You got it, Billy Fetzner. Good job.
Thank you, everyone, for connecting with us, and thank you, Billy, for accepting this invitation to be connecting with me today. We are going to have fun, and every time that we are having this conversation, it's about how people is coming from different perspectives, different point of view in their lives, and how they are succeeding in everything that they are doing. So, thank you, Billy, for connecting today.
Definitely. Thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be here.
So, Billy, I always start this show asking about your life before you're starting to believe in yourself. I know that you are creating some new and amazing things, and something happens even with your family that change a lot of things in your life. But I want to start first with who Billy was. And tell me from whatever point. Sometimes when I ask this question, people ask me, "Oh, are you asking me before I was born or after that?" And it's like it doesn't matter really what happens. That start to give us a little bit of sense of who is Billy and where are you coming from.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me, it really all started back when I was in kindergarten. I went to career day in kindergarten as a marine biologist. I dressed up as a marine biologist. I had, a little backpack on that had the little squirter for it, and then it was all messed in duct tape so that it could be look like a scuba gear and all this stuff. Like I was all decked out in you know ways of making inanimate objects around the house make it try to look like scuba gear. And so I went to school as a marine biologist, and really the reason why was because I was infatuated with animals and I loved learning all that I could about animals. And one of the things that I constantly came across with learning about animals was about the fact that we were hitting these areas where animals were going extinct, and there was all these issues with humans butting up against animals. And as I got older and I kept, learning more and more and more, I started seeing that there's always this competition between animals and humans, and being able to live out in the environment in a cohesive and harmonious way. And I thought that, there has to be some way that we can find a way to be able to live harmoniously together. There has to be a way that we can figure out how to live on this earth together and be able to work together to do this. And so that's really what led a lot of my, young adolescent years, really going through a lot of uh, middle school and then going into high school, was really just trying to learn as much as I could and then try to set myself up for a career where I could make a difference in being able to have this way of putting together and bringing humans and animals to live harmoniously together. And, along that way, there had to be a lot of me trying to believe in myself and believing that I can be an actor of that change, an actor of a person who can bring about that change. And one of those reasons that really fueled me all along that way was that, this has to be done. There has to be something to do about this, because I was reading ever since I was a little kid and learning all these different things, that there something needs to be done. And when I got into college, I started learning more and more and more in depth about all of these different nuances and issues. And it really hits on a lot of like, oh man, like, are we actually going to be able to do this? Can I actually be able to make a difference with so many different problems out there? And so there comes in some of that doubt in all of this. And in some in
Okay,
my
let me ask you
trajectory.
something in the middle here.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know, for example, when you're a kid, you have like dreams, like I want to be a fireman, I want to be a police, I want to be a nurse, or there is a lot of things. I want to be a doctor, and
Right.
something happens, I know, in the middle, and suddenly it's like, okay, that dream as a little kid or a teenager starts to change, and suddenly, okay, I want to be in the computers and working with the computers, or I want to be a gamer, or I want to be, and suddenly something starts to happen,
Right.
and then you are ready for going to college, and you start to, okay, I have to find something that I like, but I also want to do a lot of money. So all the dreams that you had at the beginning change a lot again. So how, why? Because what I'm hearing from what you are telling me is like, even from kindergarten to even starting the college, you were always thinking, I want to be connected to nature, I want to be connected with animals, I want to live in a world that everybody is living together without like killing each other or whatever. So
Right.
why do you think that happened? Like, you continue having this dream without changing since the beginning. Why do you think that helped? What happened to have that?
I don't I you know, I look back on it like how did I hold such conviction for this one thing? And I think, it really just stems from my parents are very passionate people. We're all just our family is very, very passionate about what we do. And so we give 110% to whatever we're going to work on, whatever we're going to put our effort into. And so when I was a very young kid, my we always get asked like, okay, what are you going to do when you grow up, like all these questions, right? And well, I had decided, okay, my mom was like, well, you love animals, so why don't you become a biologist or a marine biologist because you're really into dolphins? And I was like, okay, cool, sure. And little did I know that like literally set the path on like what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. It was kind of like an interesting kind of thing where it just we're just such passionate people that really just like led the through line and is what I always come back to. So even when like, those transition phases when you go into high school or you go into college and you're like, okay, I gotta figure out something that's gonna pay the bills while I'll do this. It was like, okay, this is what I want to do. What is out there that I can pay the bills and meet all these needs? And so I went out there and I was like, okay, hey, look, there's a biologist. I mean, I know there are marine biologists out there. I can train to be one of them. Oh, look, there's professors who study animal behavior and all these other things as well. I could try to be one of them too. So it was really like, okay, this is my passion. And then let me go and find these things. It wasn't the kind of thing where like most people will be like, okay, well, what's actually going to pay the bills? And it was really like, okay, was the trajectory for me to get to those areas.
And this is something really important that I want to focus exactly on what you are saying, because I really like it, and I want to help people to understand this thing, at least how I see it. You are telling me that your family has a passion, and one thing that I have learned a lot is your belief system is created depending on the thing that you believe, but also on the environment that you are. So if you are born in a family that is believing that, okay, you have to give 110% on your passion, that starts to create part of your belief system that it doesn't matter if it's pursuing a dolphin or helping animals or helping this other thing. Is like, okay, if that is your passion, suddenly you can start to do it, and you have to do 110% of that, and not 90, not 80, not 60, not an average, but being the best one that you can at that area. So we are talking about now your belief system, how it started to be like formed even when you were born in a house that was believing about that, and that has become your belief. So that is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and there's with any really like good thing about something, there's always too much of that good thing, right? And so that kind of leads into another part. What happened to me during my undergraduate career was I was really, really passionate about these things. And, you give 110% to everything, which is what I was taught from a very, very young age. And so when I reached about my junior year of um, college, I started giving that 110% to about five different things. And when you only have 100%, but you're trying to give 110 and then try to divide that into five different things, it just doesn't really work. So I was trying to do, my courses. I had a insane amount of courses I was taking. I was taking over 20 credit hours. I was working three jobs, and I was also, trying to live with my own self and trying to survive. And putting all of that together just led to a and I was also completing a thesis for my undergraduate degree. So we have these honors thesis, and if you take like a master's thesis and put it in an undergraduate level, that's basically what I was doing. So you take all three of those things, you put it all together into my junior year, and it led to a very stressful situation for me. So much so that I ended up developing an eating disorder to try to cope with that, which actually just added a whole nother thing on my plate as well, which led to me eventually having to drop everything, drop the entire school, drop all the courses, drop the uh, jobs, everything. I had to basically sign out of school and go into a treatment facility for 6 months. So that was like a really huge point for me, which I realized, coming up from a very young age of like, hey, you give 110% with everything you do, which is a great, ethic and habit to have. But there are restraints to that. There are ways that you need to make sure that you don't go too far, because you can take it too far, which I did. I took it really, really far. Um, I was at one point during the worst point of my eating disorder. I was 110 pounds. I weigh about 160 now. And that's pretty healthy for me, and where I stay at pretty consistently. So weighing 110, I was, you could see every rib in my rib cage. It was not great. But it was a really good point for me to go through, because I needed to go through that in order to continue on from there. A big part of my life has also been running. So running's been a really big part of my life. I've ran 10 marathons, ran in the Boston Marathon, and it's been a big part of my life. And it was a big part of what led to my eating disorder as well, was because I was not eating enough, not sleeping enough, doing way too much, but also on top of that, I was still running. And so putting all that together just led to an exorbitant amount of calories going out and no calories coming in. And so that
Question
led
on
to, yeah.
this is huge because I think, what do you think move you to try to do all the things at the same time? Because I know when you are at the end and you are like dropping everything, you can understand something, but before that, now that you can like see from the behind scenes, why do you think you try to do all the courses at the same time, do everything at the same time, have three jobs at the same time? What do you think was motivating you to do that?
You know, FOMO, fear of missing out. I don't. I think I get into this mindset where I think that I can do anything, and which is also a good mindset to have, in the fact that you can, I'm not afraid to go take risk and do things. but it's also like I will then take on way, way, way too much all at once. So there there's this perfect combination of giving 110% and also uh wanting to do say yes to everything. So I guess it's really that yes, trying to say yes to as many things as possible, and putting both of those together being just ended up being a very perfect storm for me and my body, and didn't work out so
And,
well.
and do you think, or now that you can see from from once again from the other side,
Yeah.
did you see some moments during that process, like because that didn't happen from one day to the other one and you were like in burnout? So how much time took for you to be doing this, like all these things at the same time? And if you have like several flags telling you, okay, stop, Billy, you need to do something else, or you have to take care of yourself, until you didn't hear anything of that and you were in a complete burnout. How much time did you have this process, and if you have some flags in the middle?
Yeah, so it really started like the end of my sophomore year of college. And then it was about a year and a half before from there until I went into treatment. Um, and so the big, like, like I was doing all this, but I was managing it okay. But when it started getting really, really bad was the, it was the fall when I got back from that summer. So it was my senior the fall of my senior year, and the summer between my junior and senior year was when it got really bad. So I went. I had this great opportunity to go up to East Lansing, Michigan, and I did this amazing research project that I had a blast doing. It was like the perfect project for me. I got to go up there. I had everything paid for. I got paid a stipend to live up there, so it was like perfect condition for a scientist. Like this was the a dream, honestly, a dream internship, and I was able to secure it. I was able to go up there. It just so happened to also be in my worst stage of the eating disorder. On top of that, because uh, my wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, and look, I've been very blessed that she stayed with me through all of this. But we were just not in a very good spot when I left to go up to Michigan, partially because of the fact that I had this eating disorder, and so that was being a very it was very much rearing its head, uh, and making us and putting a divide in between us. And then when I went up to Michigan, which put us 7 8 hours apart, and we were only able to talk on the phone and over Skype and things like that, it also it just exaggerated that issue. And so it was a it was a really hard time for me personally, but then it was also, I had this very conflicting time as well, because it was a huge point where, like, this was a perfect opportunity. This was amazing. I was so lucky to be up there. But at the same time, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and I were having such a really hard time making it through the same thing. And so there was these two very conflicting viewpoints, and then throw on top of that the eating disorder, which just made everything worse. So but that really just like that was really the big right before the summer there, right before I went up to Michigan, um, there was some really, really telltale signs of like, hey, like this is a problem. And most likely, if that summer hadn't have happened, like if I had not have gone up to Michigan but had stayed home, then I probably would have been able to get it back under control because I would have like relaxed. Possibly, I don't know. I can't really say that, but that was really like that was a huge white flag. There was like, okay, you need to get something. You need to do something different because you're not looking good. Like everybody was saying, like, Billy, you look really sick. Like your, uh, your cheeks are hollow. Like it doesn't look good. And like, what's going on? Like, how can we help you? Like a bunch of people were saying that. And it was a very like telltale sign, like, hey, like you need to get some help. And I was like, okay, yes, I definitely will get on top of it, all this stuff. And then going away for the summer, it was that very conflicting views of like, okay, this is an awesome time, oh but this is a crappy time for me and my wife. So it's like very emotionally torn going on there. And then also just trying to get past the eating disorder at the same time just wasn't happening. So that definitely was a huge huge white flag there for sure.
So I am asking you about this because I know that even right now or in the future, when the people start to listen to this story, there is a lot of people that is going through burnout and they don't know, or they are not listening to the white flags or any flag that they are going through, and maybe you or anybody is feeling like, okay, I am alone and I have to take this out and I have to work on this, and I am able and I have been giving my 110% all my life and I have to continue doing it. But that doesn't mean that it's right what you are doing, and sometimes you are thinking like, yes, I am capable of doing these 11 things or 20 things at the same time. And you were telling me you did it for a year and a half, but after that you needed to stop, and everything was drop out for 6 months. So that is exactly what happens. And what happens with burnout is not something like in one day. You know that from yesterday to today you are born and you are going to start again and everything happens. It's like there is a lot of flags in the process, and if you are going through some of those flags and you don't know what to do, contact us, and we are here to help you. And Bill is one guy, I am another guy, that we understand. I was in the same process. That's why for me this is important what you are sharing. When I was in corporate, I had a time where I almost burned out. Maybe not exactly like you, it was different. Each body is different and each way that we manage the things are different, but understanding the flags and taking decisions. For example, in my case, I was like, okay, when I went to the hospital because of that burnout, I decided I need a change. I can continue doing the same thing. I am going to take 3 months of vacations or 4 months of vacation and then figure it out what I'm going to do. And that happens every time with the burnouts. When you are going through that, you are like, everything is okay, and suddenly you are out and you can continue working, you can continue doing the same things because you have been creating a baggage of problems that each one is going bigger and bigger each day until suddenly you have to stop. There is nothing else that you can do. And even if you lose your job, you lose your family, you lose everything, doesn't matter, you need to fix it yourself. So what I'm telling you here is, if you're hearing to this and you started to feel like, okay, somebody understands me now, please contact us or contact anybody that you feel that can connect with you and can help you through that, and you can improve. So thank you, Billy, for being that open on this that you are sharing, because I really believe there is a lot of people, and now with this pandemic that happens and all the issues that are happening around the world, there is a lot of mental health issues that are exactly that, things that are happening because I was not used to be working at home all the time, and now I am here and I don't know how to deal with all the things that are happening at home. Or I am not used to be having my refrigerator in front of me all day, every day. Suddenly I am eating more than I am supposed to. So those things are some flags that you can start to see, and you can take decision earlier, not wait until you are completely burned out and you have to change completely your life for the next six months or 1 year. I have known people that have taken almost 2 years to improve from a burnout. So I am taking this time because I really believe this is really important, Billy, and what you are sharing, it's a true life story, and it's something that it's true and it's real, and it's happening to a lot of people even when they don't know it, you know. So
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's it's one of those things where like as you go through the stages of burnout and you're at the hardest point where you're like you're almost at your breaking point, but you can just stretch it and like you can stretch it for a long, long time. And it just it comes a point where you're gonna break that rubber band that you're stretching. And for me breaking was that going into an eating disorder facility and having to get treatment. Like that was my breaking point. Like I've heard stories of people, falling flat on their face and getting bruises all over their, face and having to go in the hospital and getting a bunch of surgeries and all sorts of stuff. So like it's what stage of burnout do you want your rubber band to break, or do you want to just stop the stretching and reduce the uh, the rubber band so that it doesn't break, but you can bring it back to a point where you just loosely take that rubber band off and start going again, start living your life rather than overexerting yourself. So it's yeah, no, I it's a huge it's the society we live in. It's a society of like go 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 go, like you have to go all the time, you have to be doing everything, you have million and one things that you should be doing, and everybody's telling you you have to do this to be successful or whatever. And no, but nobody ever tells you that you need to define what you believe success is in the first place before you will ever know whether you're actually successful or not. And so that's like a huge thing that I don't think a lot of people spend the time to think about, and I don't think a lot of people advertise either. They're like, "Oh, this is what you need to be successful," but like, do you actually know what you think personally? What is success?
mm,
And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people should should think about, should spend some time to think about. Agreed.
yes,
Agreed, Steph.
Steph, agreed. So when you are talking about awakening your creativity and imagine a green world, what do you see? How that relates to this thing that we are talking? Because that's once again, okay, you went from this burnout to, okay, now I have to refigure my life. I have to
Right.
define success again, and suddenly I can start to create a new world. And tell me about that new world and that creativity, how that awaken in you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, moving forward from the eating disorder was a huge point of like, okay, I'm a new person. I created new relationships, which is so important. And, moving forward was just able to really figure out what I really wanted. I was still passionate about the environment, still really passionate about that. So I ended up going to a master's degree program in biology. Had a blast down there. at Texas Tech, being able to do that, which was really great experience. And it was a really awesome opportunity for me to show not only myself, but also my family and everyone else that, like, I can come back to life and start working and start living, and they didn't have to worry about me as much because I was able to do, what I wanted to do down in Texas Tech, and got my master's degree and all of that, which was really, really great experience. And then being able to, come out from that and come out from the other side of getting my master's degree and trying to step forth into kind of like the real world, which is, this huge thing that they don't really prepare prepare you for very well in academia, is like they kind of prepare you very well for being a professor, but they don't really prepare you very well for, like, okay, here's what you need to do to be out in the real world. And so I kind of, like, bounced around to a couple of jobs because I found out that, like, oh, this like passion that I was like really excited about, and these jobs that I was finding, well, they're great if you have like 5, 6 years of experience already, and like they're great too, but they're really, really competitive. And so, like, I was like, okay, so let me try this for a little bit and do this. And do what I ended up doing was I was a teacher for a little while, and then I ended up being a lab tech for a little while, testing COVID-19 samples. And so doing a bunch of little things. And then I realized with all of this is that, you know, I, spent all this time trying to really mold myself to be this certain person that I was supposed to be. And, I was supposed to be this marine biologist that I defined back when I was in kindergarten. And what I realized after, just a little bit ago, just, 18 months ago, when my son was born, was that I had this, moment where I was like, I don't need to define myself as a job, as a career, as a, you know, marine biologist, have that title, but I can define myself as with the work that I do. So let me look and see, how can I make the world a better place in that same aspect of what I wanted to do when I was going to be that title. So, say I was going to be that marine biologist and I was going to make a difference by finding that way to for humans and animals to have, be in harmony. Well, what if I could, instead of being constrained and in the box of a marine biologist, could do that same type of work, but instead work as a entrepreneur or through other means. And so that was a huge turning point for my life, of really saying, like, okay, well, I don't have to just keep myself confined in these little boxes of, oh, this is what they define me as a marine biologist, and I have this title and I have to go apply for these jobs. But instead say, okay, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I can make my own business that can have an impact in that same areas, then, or have an impact that I would rather have an impact in. And thanks, Steph. um, and have that impact that I'd rather have an impact in, right? And be able to move forward in there. And so that was hugely, just a game changer for me back in, November of 2020, when my son was born, because when that happened, when he was born, it led me to this state of, like, okay, I need to rethink. I need to start thinking of all different possibilities and not letting anything out, not trying to just look at certain boxes or just look at certain titles or things like that, but just start taking any circle that I have out there. And it was also around that time that I was introduced to entrepreneurship and was like, well, this is a huge another way that I could have a huge impact. I could start now. I didn't have to wait 5 to 10 years to get into a position that I may or may not get into, and really define my whole life around this marine biologist or whatever, term they wanted it to be. But I could start becoming that influence. I could start having that influence that I wanted to have through this, you know, becoming an entrepreneur and creating a business around this idea of having that impact that I wanted to have. And so that was really, this spark of creativity that really led me to all of this was, you know, really started with my son being born, because it led me to under start learning about all these other possibilities out there. And really that led me down this road of entrepreneurship, which is what I am super excited about now. What I'm doing right now is, I am I've created my own YouTube channel where I have, which is called Green Business Impact. And on this channel, I am interviewing green entrepreneurs, ecopreneurs who are making a difference in the world. And I'm spreading their message, just really letting everyone know about what they do, because they're having such an impact on the world. And yet all we seem to hear in, LinkedIn news or different news feeds out there, or Yahoo News, or wherever you get your news, it's all this like, oh, we're not doing enough for climate change. Oh, we're going to hit 2 degrees Celsius. Oh, we're not doing this, not doing that. But I was seeing these awesome entrepreneurs out there who are doing such great work. They are doing the work. There is good news out there. And that's really what's exciting me these days is being able to talk to these entrepreneurs who are doing such awesome work, really, helping the world make a difference against climate change. And that's really resonated with me, especially because I wanted to find this way for humans and animals to live together in the environment. And that the only way that any of us are going to survive is if the climate doesn't hit the climate change projections that some of the scientists are predicting. We don't want it to go there. We want to do some things to make sure that doesn't happen. And there are some great ecopreneurs out there who are doing some awesome work to make sure that doesn't get there. And I definitely think that we are going to get there. We just need to let everybody know, get the word out there, and start making action happen. And so that's really the stage that I'm at, and what I'm really really excited about.
Thank you, Billy. And I agree. And it's incredible how quick the time went, because suddenly we are at the end of the show. Uh,
Oh wow.
we have Steph talking. I agree with Steph. Your story is inspiring, really. And I agree 100%. It's not only
Thanks, Steph.
uh, an I, but it's a we. I agree on that.
Mm.
Also, sometimes what I see sometimes when we talk about collective impact, sometimes it's like, I want everybody to do, but if not everyone is there, then I am not doing anything else at the same time. So I agree, from I to we, not them. Everything start to be a really a better place.
Yeah.
So thank you, Billy, for today. And really everyone that connected with this story with Billy. If you are going through a problem with burnout, or you are feeling that, okay, you don't have an answer to what is happening, and you are feeling that you are going down in a road that you don't know how to get out of that train, really contact us. That's the
Definitely.
way. Billy is in LinkedIn. Just look at him for Billy Fetzner inside LinkedIn, or you can look at me, Alejandro Brari, and we are working on this, helping people to really improve. The first thing, if you change, your community change. When your community change, we start to help to change everything around. So everything has to start with you. When you are sick, you are seeking other people, and you need to be healed to really be able to start to heal others and start to heal the world. And that's at the end what I hear from your story, Billy. It's like you went through a burnout, and when you rise again, you started to realize, okay, now I have to take care of myself, and when I am healed, I can start to connect with others, and I can start to become better, and we can start to become better. So thank you,
Definitely.
Billy. It was amazing. I know
Thank
that
you,
we are going to
Alejandro.
be talking very soon in another call. If anybody here wants to connect with us, or has any other comment or question, please let us know in the comments. We are more than welcome to be connecting and talking with you. Thank you, everyone, and see you very soon.
Thanks, Alejandro.
Okay, bye to all.